My name is Susan Stoker. I'm the author of the Ace Security and Mountain Mercenary series books, and I'm here to talk to you today and to answer some reader questions, and maybe I'll even give you a sneak peek of my office downstairs if you want to have a look at that. But I was asked to come talk to you guys today. It's obviously a very tough world we're living in and trying to get by with our new normal, as they call it. And I just wanted to tell you guys to hang in there. We'll all get through this one way or another. And maybe in the meantime, I can give you some other fun stuff to think about. Next up, I'm going to answer some reader questions that you guys left on the Amazon Publishing like page. So let's see what you guys want to know. So Tammy and Rebecca want to know, before you start a series, do you know how many books will be in it? And do you come up with a character's name first and then everything else falls into place? Yeah, when I decide to write a series, I know how many books there are going to be, and I go in and I write down all of the heroes' characters' names, and I go in and write down all of the heroines' names. That way I know what they are before I start, so if a good plot line comes up and I can use that character in the future, I already know their name, and so I can just sneak it in. Like if I'm going to write that someone may or may not die, and I know that the heroine's name later in the book is whatever it is, I can sneak that in and then make a whole plot out of it. So it helps me to know who everyone is ahead of time. Helen wants to know, where do the ideas of your stories come from? How much time do you take on background research? And how long does it take to write a book? So that's a three-parter. Ideas. I watch a lot of crime TV, and you'd be surprised that I'm fairly mean to my heroines in my books, but they can take it because they're tough. But the real world is way weirder than anything I write in my books, and a lot of what I get comes from real life. As far as research, it just kind of depends on what the topic is and how much I need to research that. And then how long does it take for me to write a book? I write fairly fast. I'm type A, and when I start writing a book, I just want to get it done. So I typically tend to write and get it done. So I would say anywhere from probably about 3 weeks to completely write a book. Sherry and Sarah want to know, how do you map the story out before I start writing? How do you keep from getting confused and writing about something I've already covered? I don't map things out. I'm a pantser. So I know how the characters meet, and I know what the drama is at 85%. But in between that, I don't really know what's happening. I know they're getting to know each other and falling in love and things like that, but I don't specifically know what's going on. So that kind of comes as I write. And I get confused all the time. That's why I have an editor who helps me, and I have a spreadsheet to try to help me stay focused, which doesn't always work, but I try. And last question, Edith and Robin wanted to know, was there a particular reason I started writing military stories, and how did the idea and stories for the Mountain Mercenaries come to be? Well, I've always enjoyed men in uniform. I married a man in the uniform. My husband was in the Army for 21 years. So as far as that, and when I think of heroes, I automatically think of the military. And so it just, Navy SEALs and Delta Force and a lot of those retired guys, they just came to mind. And so it seemed natural to write about that. And how did the ideas for the Mountain Mercenaries come to be? There's a lot of bad stuff that goes on in our world. And I just thought, what if there were some heroes that were really working to save women and children, others who have been put into lives of sex trafficking? And what if they had these heroes that could help get them out of those situations? So that's kind of how it came about. So that's the end of my questions. Thank you guys for submitting them. I love the interaction with my readers. I'm down here in my office. I wanted to give you a sneak peek of my office, but I have to admit that this is not where I write, because I write out on the couch where it's comfortable. But this is kind of the room where it's got all my books, and it's got the awards and stuff on the wall. So it's my space, but it's not actually where I write. I write out there on the couch because, one, it's comfortable. I got all the snuggly blankets around me and everything. But two, the dogs are out there. And I got to make sure they don't get in trouble, because I get in trouble a lot. They're like toddlers that way. But yeah, so I write out there, but this is kind of my fun space. And it's got a secret I think you'll like. So I'm going to turn the phone around and show you my office. So first, this is the book quilt my mom has made for me. I gave her the idea and said, Mom, go do this. And she did, and it's amazing. Then I got a bookshelf and I have my treadmill desk. Now I have to admit, I don't write on this treadmill desk and I don't use it as much as I should, but it's still pretty cool. But then I got floor to ceiling bookshelves. Can I get them all in? When we bought this house about 2 years ago, I told the guy I wanted bookshelves that went from all the way to the floor to the ceiling. And I wanted one of those ladders on wheels that you could move so you can see it goes back and forth. So I can reach all the way in the top shelves. And yes, that's my Grover collection because I love Grover. But there's something also pretty cool about this bookshelf. And so I'm going to let you in on this little secret. If you come over here and pull on the handle, it's a secret door. Let me show you what it looks like from back here. So that's my office. That's my little personal space. I hope you like that. And I love the secret room. That's always fun to show people. And next up, I'm gonna read an excerpt from Defending Raven for you. Now I'm gonna read an excerpt from Defending Raven. This is the last book in my Mountain Mercenary series. And a lot of people are probably wondering how Rex, the leader of the Mountain Mercenaries, how his wife got kidnapped in the first place and taken into the sex trade. So this is the story from his point of view. My wife's name is Margaret. Her family calls her Mags. I thought it was cute and started calling her Magpie. It didn't seem to fit her though, so I eventually settled on Raven. With her long black hair and her nickname, it fit. Anyway, 10 or so years ago, we went to Las Vegas to celebrate our 5-year anniversary. We were more in love than ever, and it had been a while since either of us had taken a break from our jobs. I'd bought this bar right before we met and had been working long hours for years to make it a success. I loved it and was successful, so I wanted to give my wife something special, a trip to remember. Raven was an insurance underwriter. We had completely normal and boring lives, so spending a week in Vegas seemed exciting and extravagant. It was on our 4th night there when we decided instead of going to another show, we could check out some of the popular and famous clubs on the Strip. We both knew to be careful about our drinks and not to let them out of our sight. We were cautious, but also having a good time, drinking and enjoying spending time together. Rex paused and took a deep breath. He hated thinking about that night, about the terror he'd felt. There were so many things he'd wished he'd done differently, and he'd spent all the years since kicking his own ass for being so careless with his wife's safety. He continued, knowing he owed it to the men around him. It was around 2 a.m. or so, and we were in a club at one of the casinos. Raven said that she needed to use the restroom. I didn't think anything of it. I kissed her and told her I'd order us around while she was gone. She turned around, blew me a kiss before disappearing into a crowd of people on the other side of the bar near the restrooms. That was the last time I saw her. After about 10 minutes, I started getting concerned, as she usually doesn't take so long, so I went looking for her. There was a line to get into the restroom, but none of the women there had seen Raven. I even had one check inside the bathroom, but she wasn't there. I figured I just missed her and went back to our table. When she didn't return after another couple minutes, I wasn't sure what to do. I called her phone and it went straight to voicemail. I wondered if she got sick or something and had gone back to our hotel room. Stupidly, I left the bar and walked all the way back to our hotel, but when I got there, she wasn't in the room. I panicked. I had no idea what to do. I called the police, but they pretty much laughed and said she'd most likely turn up soon. I knew something was wrong, but couldn't get anyone to believe me. It was Vegas after all. The cops just assumed Raven had been drunk or was maybe having a wild affair with someone she'd met. It wasn't until 2 days had passed with absolutely no sign of her that the cops finally took me seriously. But by then, it was too late. Rex took a deep breath to try to get some control over his emotions. Did they check the surveillance cameras? Meade asked. Rex nodded. Yeah. She exited the restroom and a guy came up to her and put his arm around her shoulders. He leaned down and said something to her, and she walked out of the hallway through the crowd and straight out the door toward the casino. She didn't call out for me or try to signal anyone in any way. So he threatened her, Gray surmised. I'm guessing he told her something had happened to me or that something would happen to me if she struggled or brought attention to herself, Rex agreed. His voice lowered. I was pissed as hell for her about that for quite a while, he admitted. I know she was probably worried and scared, but look at me, he threw his arms out. I'm not exactly the kind of guy people mess with. So if you want to know the rest of it, hear the rest of his story, make sure you pick up Defending Raven, coming soon. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and definitely keep reading those books. It'll keep us all sane. Bye.